What is going on, y'all? It's your boy Cavell Anderson, and we are back with another Veve and Ecomi video. And this one, we're back with Daniel Lee, and he's actually going to be talking about something that you all wanted me to react to. You all told me that he's actually shouted me out a few times, so shout out to my mans again. Make sure y'all subscribe to him, check him out. But we're going to be checking out this video. His last video revealed something to me that I didn't know. It was a very well put together video. This one is the reverse split. Apparently he's saying that there's going to be a reverse split or something like that. So we're going to see what he's talking about in this one. And yeah, be sure to drop that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, all that good stuff, and check him out as well. Let's get into it.
Hello. My name is Dan, and welcome to my show yet again. Thank you for joining me here today. A few days ago, I put out a video explaining why I believed Omi will hit $1 sooner rather than later. And one of the biggest movers of price I see within the short term is the transfer to Immutable. Depending on how Veve developers plan on migrating to Immutable and potentially leaving a bunch of tokens behind will drastically affect price within the short term. I would even say it's the largest driving factor this year that can contribute to high prices.
I would definitely agree with that statement. The highest driving factor this year, based on what he said and how it seemed like it was like way too many tokens, I would say that is too, because even if they release the Veveverse, that's not going to just do a crazy amount to the token this year. It's just going to start the ball rolling for it to have an amazing year next year, and that's depending on how the Veveverse is even put together, like what all is released with it. It's so many unknown variables when it comes to the Veveverse, and that's one of the hardest. That's one of the biggest reasons it's so hard to predict where the price is going to go, because that has been the biggest catalyst up until this point. But yeah, I think the switch and them leaving behind tokens is actually going to be a huge deal. With them saying it's like what they said, 50 years worth of token. They don't need that much, obviously. So yeah, if they cut that like in half, it's over.
This is even in comparison to the buybacks we'll see later this month, maybe even next month, the Veveverse. Those things will play a role in the long term, but I believe in the short term this year, the Immutable transfer with the possibility of leaving some tokens behind, I think will have the biggest impact right now. So let's get into some of the tidbits we saw with the most recent interview. But before we begin, I would like to ask you, if you enjoy this type of content, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below about what your thoughts are after you watch this video. Let's get right to it.
Yeah, so I have a question from the stream. Somebody's asking if the token swap from Omi to Immutable X will be a 1-to-1 ratio. And I think you spoke on this already a couple times, but I didn't know if you want to answer that one again, Reese.
Yeah, definitely. Yep, it'll be a 1-to-1, or I guess I prefer to say it as a 1-to-1 value, right? So if the decision is made to do some sort of token split or anything like that, like you're still getting the exact same amount of value, but the number on the screen might be slightly different, you know, and that might come if the decision is made to leave some tokens behind, or, you know, just to make it a bit easier to understand for anyone new coming to the ecosystem. So it's 1-to-1 value, whether that's like...
I actually just now caught on to this part. Watching his last video, like the 1-to-1 value thing, I'm just not catching on to that, because watching his last video, I completely missed the... you all know, if you saw my last video, you know the part that I missed. So this means a lot more hearing that part. This is actually sick. Well, I'm sure he's going to get into it.
Like 1-to-1 tokens, we have to wait and see.
So what did we just hear? We heard Reese say that when we migrate our tokens over to Immutable, whenever that happens, he prefers 1-to-1 value. And why does he say that? He says this because there is a possibility that there won't be a 1-for-1 token transfer. For example, if I have one Omi on the GR20 chain and I transfer it over to the ER20,
basically it's going to be more valuable, obviously, because there's going to be less circulating supply. There's going to be less tokens by the time we get to Ethereum. So 1-to-1 value means our token is more valuable as soon as it moves over. But yeah,
chain, there might not necessarily be a 1-for-1 transfer. And the only reason there might not be a one-to-one transfer is because they might leave a bunch of tokens behind, like what was referenced previously on a previous interview. The way he talks, it's not set in stone, it's a discussion. So we don't know 100%, of course, if there is going to be some tokens left behind. Everything else that we've talked about in a previous video, that's all speculative, right? We don't know for sure. We are speculating that there is a possibility there could be quite a few tokens left behind based on the context of a previous interview. But what he says here definitely supports the fact that they're still thinking about it. Remember, Reese said that there's a 50-year supply of tokens and they don't need that many. Therefore, there's a good chance some of those will be left behind. What will happen when this is 100% confirmed? Well, it depends on the amount of tokens that are going to be left behind. Let's just say, for example, and just warning here, this is all speculation. Let's say, for example, they leave 100 billion tokens behind. Obviously, I would expect the price to increase. This is my own estimate, but at least double, possibly triple the price. So right now, at the time of recording, I saw the price at 0.0021. So let's say this is announced a couple months from now. The price is roughly the same. We can see a jump to 0.0040, maybe even 0.0060. Now we've seen that the price is capable of jumping by 50% really quickly.
I think one thing that's going to be interesting here is a move like this is also going to boost Veve in the investment world, because right now it's not a logical investment because of how the amount of tokens, it makes it appear like it's going to take a super long time. And traders and things like that have not seen them adding utility to the token or really focusing on it in the short term. So it's not an attractive investment for like short term. People look at the gain in the short term. It's just not an attractive investment. But if people see them literally have their circulating supply, they literally cutting tokens down in half and things like that. Now it's becoming more attractive to investors because people know that they will take these drastic measures to make sure the coin is profitable or the token is profitable. And that's going to be a big deal when it comes down to building trust with investors. And then we could see a situation and a scenario where investors really does boost this price. Like you can see something like a Dogecoin type of boost or something like that, because obviously this project, like the business end, I don't think anyone is questioning the business end. It's always been questions concerning the tokens and fears of things like that. Me personally, I have not shared in those same fears and stuff because I understand that it's product first. I don't care about the token. I don't care about the investors right now. It's all about the product. But the thing is, they seem to have gotten the product where it needs to be. They're talking about the Veveverse coming this year. It looks like the product is on track to do what it's supposed to do. And now the first opportunity that they get, they're focusing on token utility and things like that. That is a huge sign to me that, it's further confirmation that they know what they're doing. That's why, as a long-term investor myself, I've never really been worried about them making the right decisions because they seem to always do it. They got the platform out of the way, which is that's number one priority. That is what's going to be burning these tokens for the long term, and that's really what's going to drive the price up to its max and peak value. But now that they have some freedom, a little bit of space, things are working how it should, they instantly jumping on token utility, hiring people to work specifically on providing utility and stuff to the token. This is game changing, man. This is game changing. So yeah, I mean, they're just proving, they're further proving why I invested in them. This is all proof. But this is stuff that I saw even before these announcements. That's why I don't panic when everybody else is panicking, because I invested in people who are used to doing this for like 20 years. So I know it's a long-term play, but it is good to see they also want to be competitive in crypto short-term as well. So, I mean, it's interesting. But again, this is speculation, but they did say that there may be they could be dumping a lot of the tokens or leaving a lot of the tokens and stuff behind. So that's confirmed, but we don't know any numbers. We still don't know numbers. So yeah,
we've seen that in the past couple months. Our most recent was when our price jumped from 0.0016 to I think the highest I saw was 0.0050 within a very short period of time. So what we see is that it's possible for the price to jump very, very quickly. We just need the right corresponding news. And let me say this, what is the market? The market is essentially a collection of individuals who are buying and selling Omi. We all know this. But the market is represented by you and me. So if I hear a bit of news and I don't really believe that's going to have an influence in price, there's a high chance that there's a bunch of other people, a bunch of other investors that feel the same way. So think about how any piece of news affects you, and there's a good chance that a lot of other people believe that. So when I hear something like, oh, we might leave some tokens behind, think of things in terms of value, not a one-to-one token transfer. I perceive this as potentially being big news for Omi. And I feel a lot of investors also feel the same way. Exactly. So if that's the case, when this news is announced, if it ever is, and they leave a large supply of tokens behind, you best believe that the price of Omi is going to double, triple, maybe even quadruple in price in a very short period of time. Now, I know there's a lot of people on my channel who have lost money. Some of these people tend to leave some pretty hateful comments, and that's fine. I understand why you might feel that way. And I've said before in a previous video, if you want to get off the Omi train, whenever there's a big piece of news that's announced and you see that price going up and you feel you can sell at a very good price and maybe make a small profit, or at the bare minimum get a large chunk of your investment back, that would be a good time to get off this train. If you've been suffering over this past couple months about your loss of investment, that would be a good time to get off. I have lost approximately 60 to 65% of my investment, and it doesn't bother me because, like I've said before, you only invest what you can afford to lose.
It doesn't bother anyone logical. Like, the people who are most bothered and most impacted and damaged by this is people who've put life savings and things. People doing illogical shit, to be completely honest. People being completely illogical, investing money that they don't have to invest and things like that. People who are making those type of decisions are the ones most heavily impacted because they thought this was going to be a quick pump and dump Doge type of project. And in reality, it's actual investment. It's something that's going to take time. And most people, this is their introduction to investments. So they don't know that it takes years. Nobody's expecting that. You hear about crypto. Oh, every crypto is exploding. Look at Dogecoin. Look at Shiba Inu. Look at SafeMoon. You hear all these cryptos exploding, making people a ton of money in just a few weeks and months and stuff like that. Then you join a project thinking that, oh, if those projects blowing up, this definitely has potential to blow up. Then you realize, it's a 5-year plan. What? Why? What did I just invest in? I thought it was something totally different. I thought this was going to be shitting on Dogecoin. Like, it's like people weren't expecting that, but that's why it's important to really understand the fundamentals of investing. It's very important to understand the fundamentals. So it's hard for me to feel too much for grown ass people making bad investment decisions. It's like, you're grown. Do your research, do your due diligence, dollar cost average. Like, this is all very important fundamentals that everyone needs to know. Like, and obviously, don't invest money you don't have to invest. Like, you don't know when any investment is going to move. I don't care if you have inside information that an investment is about to quadruple tomorrow. Like, it's a gamble. It's a risk. You don't know where the information comes from. It could come from the CEO himself, and then he could get slapped with something. He could get arrested, and then that changes everything. Like, don't invest money that you can't afford to lose. That's just basics.
Luckily, I have a good job. My wife has a good job. We have a very comfortable lifestyle, so it doesn't bother me when I get a 60% loss because I put in an amount that I feel comfortable losing. I have heard some people say in the comments and also other YouTubers talk about how they have put in large chunks of money into Omi. Now, I don't really believe in that. I don't believe you should put all your chips into one basket like that. I diversify across all investment classes. With my crypto portfolio, I have about 5 cryptocurrencies that I'm heavily invested in.
That's very speculative, by the way. This is a huge debate, and this is a huge debate among very successful people. What you have to understand is a lot of investments, people are not diversifying to gain this huge amount of wealth. So it depends heavily on your ambitions, but most people don't gain their fortunes from diversification. They maintain their fortunes from diversification. So people go all in on, like, when most of the time people have nothing to lose or very little to lose, they go all in on something and it just happens to blow up and explode for them. It puts them in a different position that completely changes their life. And then at that point, you don't want to go back to nothing, so you diversify. So even if one takes a hit, you still relatively in a good position. But yeah, rising, if you're trying to rise, depending on how fast you're trying to rise, stuff like that. Because the thing is, projects like Omi, Veve, these don't come that often. Like, who, like, getting to invest in Tesla before knowing that it would be Tesla, Amazon, investing in Amazon before knowing there's going to be Amazon. It's very few scenarios where you're going to completely be able to wrap your head around the scale that something can go to. Now, being the only company with the ability to license like this, Al Khan being involved, David Yu's history, learning that he's one of the best in the world at licensing as well, like, all this, like, it's not very likely you're going to find too many sure things like this in your lifetime. So it's like certain things I can see people going all in on, like, and there's a lot of people going all in on Omi, man. But it is a risk. It is a risk. Like, it's all or nothing. And I think that a lot of people taking those risks know that it's all or nothing. Like, and honestly, with all the facts that's coming with Omi, it's like, if I can't make a good decision with this project and this project end up flopping, I'm not gonna make a better decision in my life. Like, cause, like, look at all the facts. Look at what all the facts pointing. If I misread this situation that bad, I'm probably not gonna be able to invest in shit else, because it's like, so I get it. Like, a lot of people who YOLO in it, I definitely understand that perspective as well. One thing, I mean, for the most part, I'm doing the same thing. I'm YOLO in it too, to be completely honest. But it's just new income that I'm investing. All my old investments, they're the same. But my new investments, my new income is going back into this investment. So, I mean, in a way, that's a YOLO, but not like some people have liquidated everything and just went all in on Omi. Listen, I believe in Omi with all my heart. I'm not going that far though.
Omi being one of them. So obviously my cryptocurrency portfolio is down because the market is down. I started getting into it, I believe, in early February timeframe. But I also have other investments too. I have my traditional 401k. That's where the bulk of my funds are. I have some rental properties. I am diversified. So regardless of how bad the cryptocurrency portfolio is, it doesn't bother me because I have other investments. And I strongly advise you all to have this perspective. Please do not put a large chunk of your life savings into cryptocurrency. It is so volatile. Even if you are a true believer, just please put only the amount that you can afford to lose. Don't be like some of these people who are down multiples of thousands of dollars because they put so much money into one token. I just don't think that's a good idea, and you're setting yourself up for a bad time. That's my rant for the day, but please, I don't advise you to do that. If you have done that already, stick to your original investment thesis and don't sell at a massive loss. Okay.
And if you've done that in Omi, it's like, be patient. Be patient and see what it's going to do. Like I said, the project, the on paper looks amazing. The team is proving to be doing a very amazing job. So even though it's going to take longer than I know a lot of people want, the data says that it's going to go up in value. That's what the data says. So stick to that. Even if you're going to be pissed, mad, and upset, hold on to it. Because at this point, it's all that anyone can really do. But yeah, I mean, diversification, like, it depends on your risk tolerance. Everyone is not going to become rich from the market because everyone does not have the heart to do that. And everyone does not have the knowledge to do it. Everyone should not be taking certain risks. But if you are like super ambitious, a lot of wealth is built off stupid decisions. As far as not diversifying, everybody going all in on things and stuff like that. A lot of wealth is built that way. So yeah, diversification rarely makes someone rich. It sustains wealth more than it builds it. So yeah, like, it's just, you have to really have an investment strategy before you start investing. Like, your strategy is everything. If you know that you just really want to use the markets and stuff as a bank account and get a little bit more returns on your money, then do that. Like, you wouldn't take all your assets off to put, like, you wouldn't take every asset you have out the stock market, out crypto, out housing, and throw it all in a bank account, would you? So why would you take everything and put it all into one company if you wouldn't do that? So it's like, you have to be smart. You have to definitely be wise with the things that you're doing. So investing and taking huge risk isn't for everyone. Like, I couldn't, like me, a Shiba Inu and certain projects like Doge, stuff like that, I could not personally go all in. I see people buying dips and stuff like that in Doge. I mean, cool, power to you, bro. I've seen a guy lose millions. Like the Dogecoin millionaire, whatever, like, dude is losing millions when Dogecoin goes down. It's like, couldn't be me, but, bro, I mean, power to you, my guy.
Okay. I wouldn't advise doing that either.
Hey, guys, I just wanted to get a little clarity on something that we talked about briefly earlier. So, basically, if I have, let's say, 2 million Omi in my wallet before the Ethereum blockchain switchover, will I have less than that amount of Omi after I swap my tokens, but with the same value? Is that what was said?
I don't remember anybody saying that. Basically, the chain migration is just something that's going to happen in the back end. Obviously, we'll be setting up token swap platforms for people to convert from the Go20 over to the new ERC20. But outside of that, there's not going to be really any further impact to users. I think the question you're asking is, are we going to do something like 100 to 1? At the moment, we're not going to do anything like that. It'll basically be, if you have 2 million Omi in your wallet now, and if you do, well done. It's going to be the same, when the migration happens. You obviously will need to go through some sort of token swap, which we'll be communicating very heavily around how to do that and where to do that.
Yeah, just to clarify, that was from before you got on, Dan. That was a bit of the conversation, and you answered exactly as I kind of did, just to say that if there was some sort of 10 to 1 or 100 to 1, you would end up with the same value, but token swap wise, yeah, it should be pretty simple.
So what is the facts here? When we listen to Dan Crothers, he presumably seems to deny the fact that we aren't going to lose tokens. He said that there's no plans to do a 100 to 1 swap. Now, on the surface, this might seem to indicate that we are not going to lose tokens on Immutable. But when you look at the context of this interview, Reese was talking about, the point Reese was making about value happened early on in the interview when Dan Crothers wasn't there. Now, Dan Crothers, about an hour and a half later into the interview, he didn't hear what was talked about with Reese. And to me, now this is speculation, so speculation alert, it sounded like he was more defensive, trying not to give too much information, just saying that that wasn't on the table at this time. But my question to you then is, why would Reese talk about something like a 100 to 1 split? Why did Dan Crothers even mention a 100 to 1 split, 10 to 1 split, right? Why would he even bring that up if they're not talking about it? So we know from this that the idea of a 10 to 1 reverse split or a 100 to 1 reverse split where the company maybe buys back or leaves behind some tokens so that the overall token supply is lowered was at the bare minimum talked about. And we have to look at what Reese's job is. He's the communications manager, so he's essentially the spokesperson for the company. And the reason why he wants to shift the conversation from 1 to 1 to value is to leave open the idea that we could leave tokens behind. From my perspective, when I look into this a little deeply and think about it, I don't think they've decided just yet, but it's definitely still on the table. And what is on the table? 10 to 1. So what does that mean? That means a total supply of 75 billion tokens, right? 10 to 1. 100 to 1. What does that mean? That means a total supply of 7.5 billion tokens. What that means to me when I hear that is they are at least thinking about leaving quite a few tokens behind. And I think Dan Carruthers is being quite defensive about it because I think
Dan has been in a hot seat since I've joined the community. Dan is constantly in the hot seat for leaking things, not leaking things, but saying certain things. And he sees the backlash David Yu gets. He's very selective with his words. Dan is the one who doesn't really talk about something unless it's confirmed. When you hear Dan speak, usually it's confirmed things that's coming out of his mouth 100% of the time. David is the one who's like super, super excited, just like telling people what's going on, like as it's going on in real time. So if there's setbacks, I mean, he told you what we was working on. So now it's like, if it's a setback, it seems like, oh, he lied. Like, Dan is a lot more cautious. I think Reese, he does do a great job of communicating things that's being talked about. So it's definitely in the conversation. They end up doing what's best. So I feel like if it makes the most sense, like they're going to do what makes the most sense, to be honest. Like, I don't know what type of token, like how the tokenomics is going to impact something like the VVverse and things like that. And I think that will be a big deciding factor, like how expensive and stuff things are in the VVverse, how much Omi is going to be burned, like what's the burn rates of the VVverse. Stuff like that, I feel like that's going to play a big role in how many tokens gets left behind, because that's a big part of the ecosystem that they're going to have, unless they don't really make that a huge part of the Omi burning ecosystem, which in that case, leaving behind more tokens makes a lot more sense, since we can't count on the VVverse to burn them. So, I mean, I don't know what decision they're going to end up on, but these conversations taking place is very inspiring in the first place.
He realizes this is like a huge deal, and he doesn't want to give any indication that we're going in any particular direction, because he knows how the Ecomi community is. You think they would get mad about Pokemon not being delivered or something like that. Can you imagine what it would be like if any hint of a 75 billion Omi supply is teased out and it doesn't actually happen? People will be so pissed. So he's very defensive about it. But granted, this is all speculation, and I just want to highlight the fact that they're at least thinking about large amount of tokens being left behind on the chain. What actually ends up happening is subject to speculation. And you got to think how the VV developers initially envisioned the token, right? They envisioned that in the initial days, Omi token would be worth very, very little, like kind of what we see now. But as the value of VV increases, as the value of the company increases, we should see a corresponding increase in Omi value. Yep. And that would mean every burn, as the value of Omi goes up, decreases how many tokens are taken out of circulation, until we get to a point where very little Omi is burnt because the corresponding value of Omi is so high. That is the homeostatic relationship of the Omi tokenomics. And that's why I believe that they don't need nearly as many tokens as they have already, because they anticipate the value of Omi going up over time, getting to the point where very little Omi is burnt. It's kind of like back in the day with Bitcoin. You know, you could buy a pizza for 1,000 Bitcoin. It's like, oh, wow, 1,000 Bitcoin. And now you can buy a whole pizza franchise with 10 Bitcoin, right? So that's how I believe the Ecomi team initially envisioned the Omi tokenomics, or the Omi ecosystem being. All right, guys. Well, that's all I had to talk about today.
That was a great explanation. I love that. So yeah, like this guy, I definitely love the content. He's very He's very good at really breaking down the nuances and the speculation and things like that, and catching these small nuggets of big information. Like it's a big thing, but it's so small, it's so minor that it's very easy to miss, even if you've heard it. So yeah, this is going to be insane, man. I think that this is going to be big for Omi, big for the community. And this is something that a lot of people should be excited about, because we know that they make the right decisions. And yeah, like that, obviously something like 75 billion tokens being burned isn't something that needs to be teased. But I feel like even if we don't get as crazy of a burn as people are hoping from the swap, I think that just means they're going to make up for it on the back end of the VVverse. So we're going to be seeing some crazy burns from that. They're projecting that around the clock and stuff. So, yeah, like they're going to balance it out. It's going to make sense by the time they do what they got to do. So my advice to people would be to really trust in the team that you invested in. I hope you didn't invest into this project because of licensing and things like that, because Quid is a perfect example that you can have all the licensing in the world and still be a shitty team. It was disrespectful, but all due respect, all due respect. Like, Veve is a project where you hear the team, you look at their resume, you look at how successful all these guys is, and you invest in the people, trusting that they know more than you. A lot of investors feel like they know better. That's a stupid way to invest, and that's why a lot of people don't make it in the investment world. Because if you're investing in somebody you're smarter than, you're a fucking idiot. Like, you should never invest in someone you're smarter than. Like, that's not the case whatsoever. You invest in things and people who can do something and see something that you cannot, and you have to trust in that. But that's just me. That's my personal investment philosophy. Obviously, you have to have an understanding and grasp around it. Like, don't invest in something you don't understand. But if you're in the middle, you really you can wrap your head fully around it. You want to invest in somebody who's an absolute expert, and they know what you know times 10. So that's how I go about my investment anyway. Let me know what you all think. Be sure to drop that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'm going to catch y'all on the next one. Peace out, Joe.